Alright, welcome. This is the third video on the channel. This is from this last week's weekly tournament at Raven's Nest Games in Marietta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. I've been going there since January, and now that I have my recording equipment set up, thought I would record a game. I'm playing against David, who I had not previously played against. Just hadn't had an opportunity to play against him. I'm running a very similar deck to the deck that is in the previous videos as my runner. Doubles and Anarch. I unfortunately, or probably fortunately for the playability of my deck, got rid of the Power Nap and replaced it with Retrieval Run. I actually made a mistake building this deck. I intended to have a couple of liberated accounts and ended up with a couple of bishops instead. So I got a little bit confused the first time I started to play this game, but otherwise it ended up being, I think, a better deck. I got several games in where I was able to retrieval run to a Yogg or to the Morning Star, which really makes the install cost much more achievable. So this is the first game of the night. Very casual play, really nice environment to play, and if you have a chance to come by and play, I'm sure the whole community would love for you to join. I'm playing against Weyland. I don't have a lot of experience playing against Weyland. In casual play, I tend to avoid kill you decks, like pretty much all of Weyland. So I tend to have less experience than I would like. Here I've adjusted the camera angle a bit. Hopefully I can see more of my hand. I'm holding it open so that I can see it later on. Unfortunately, my opponent is not doing that in a way that's visible to the camera. I've got a Morning Star, I've got a Parasite, I'm not sure what the other three cards are. I think some form of Econ. When I'm playing Anarch and I'm hard drawing, I like to have one source of economy in the deck. A couple of the other changes I made to the deck: for the influence on Power Nap, I switched to Cyber Solutions Mem Chip instead of Akamatsu, and I also included Quality Time as a form of card draw. Since I'm planning to install with Retrieval Run, I don't mind if I overdraw through even programs, so I think Quality Time might be a good start. Runner had a lot of problems with ice, or excuse me, Corp had a lot of problems with ice in this play. Even after a mulligan, he ended up with a green level clearance on click 1, and he just can't find the ice that he needs to really defend himself. Ultimately, he mentioned at the end of the game that he had actually included 18 ice in the deck, and just for whatever reason never saw the ice that he needed. And it's kind of an unfortunate game for the Corp in this particular matchup. I kind of half-heartedly attempted to use my tags as a click counter after receiving some comments that people would like to see clicks counted out. My opponent, David, did a much better job keeping tabs of his clicks than I did. I have to admit, I am used to counting them out loud or in my head, so I've gotten into a bad habit about putting out counters on the table. And when I'm commentating on these videos and not including much of the original audio, it can be confusing, and I apologize. So click 1, I sure gamble, going up to 9 credits. Click 2, I install medium. He left R&D open, so I've got it in hand. I've got to check it. I ignore HQ. I see a hive. I believe I run 2 more times, or for my last 2 clicks. So I see 2 cards. The second is, I think it's an operation, maybe a hedge fund. But I'm not terribly worried about my rig right now, and now I've got 2 tokens on medium, which puts any corp into a lot of pressure. So he immediately ices up R&D. Now I saw what it was. I know it's a hive because I saw it off the top of R&D, and I knew that if he had an ice, he would have installed it last turn. And there's the hedge fund. So I don't mind phase checking it, and since I'm Reina, I know it'll cost him at least 6 credits to res it. So I blindly face check into it, I believe, on my 3rd click after drawing twice. Lacking a Plasticrete, I am nervous about going under 5 cards, even if it's not really achievable to stop me. So he reses the hive for 6. I'm perfectly fine with taking the end of the run.
I was thinking like 3 for some reason.
And I had some argument about how much it costs to res. I think he accidentally read the strength instead of the res price on the ice initially, so that's fixed. I have a Parasite in hand, and I know I can get through that hive pretty fast, and it was pretty expensive for him to res it. I'm worried about my econ at this point. This deck is a little bit... It needs a bit of econ to get rolling. A lot of the events cost 3, 4, 5 credits to play. So I like to stay high on my credits. I don't like to go below 3 unless I have to. So I elect to not play the Parasite and instead play the Data Sucker. The Corp reacts to this by installing ice on archives. I think that's a good play because a Data Sucker and medium and a Parasite is really bad news for low strength ice like Hive. And I think I would make the same decision. I might, well, since I don't have any breakers on the table, I might elect to put a 2nd piece of ice in front of R&D. It may be my playstyle in place of his. I'm not really sure. I think the reason why he chooses to ice up archives is because, as he mentioned after the game, he had a ton of agendas in hand and wasn't sure that he would be able to keep them in his hand if he continued to draw them. So I think he's planning to put agendas in archives because he doesn't have the ice to start a remote. And he plays Beanstalk to get money. I'm still thinking about parasiting. I'd like to get it rolling this turn. I think I go searching for econ cards, and I don't find them. I do draw an Ice Carver, though. I draw a Queen's Gambit. I don't believe that the Corp actually managed to put anything in a remote, so that ends up being kind of an empty draw. So I install Parasite, and I'm down to 3 credits from that install. I think I may have miscounted my credits here, but I don't think it ends up making a difference. I draw and discard a 2nd Data Sucker. So I've got an Ice Carver, which means I know I can get in probably 1 turn sooner than he thinks I can get in, without even face checking any ice. I can lower the strength on encounter on Hive, and have Parasite destroy it quickly. Corp is really struggling with his draws. He's not getting the ice he needs. He's getting all of his agendas. Just apparently abysmal draws. He told me later in the evening that he had, I think he won the rest of his games as Corp. We did 3 rounds of Swiss. I think he won his other 2 games as Corp. It was just this one game against this Anarch deck. He just had the worst luck with draw. Kind of a positive point about playing Netrunner is that a lot of it is often up to chance. Sometimes even the strongest deck just has the worst possible draw order. There's a couple of players, one game that I'll be able to upload later on this week, who are really exceptional players, and they always seem to know what to do with their agendas, even when they have an HQ full of it. I am desirous to be as good as they are. They're really kind of exceptional players. So I overdraw and discard Queen's Gambit. I actually drew a second one. I'm putting so much pressure on his centrals that it's not terribly likely that I'm going to see a face down. There's always a chance he'll put down a Jackson Howard and I'll be able to Queen's Gambit it. But that doesn't happen terribly frequently. Often when people play Jackson Howard, they install it and res it to draw 2 immediately. When I use Jackson Howard, I often use it as a decoy to try to get a run out of the runner, if I intend to immediately scrap him. So he's getting more money. He spends most of the game drawing and playing operations. So he's starting to overdraw and put cards into archives face down. That's not completely visible from the camera, unfortunately. So the Parasite gains its second counter, and Hive is at 1 strength. I install Ice Carver, click 1, and then I break it with Ice Carver. And I access 3 cards off of R&D. I see Operations and Ice. I don't think I see anything off of this turn. I'm kind of not really sure what to do. I think he's got a lot of agendas in HQ because I haven't seen him play anything, and I also haven't seen any attempt to start a remote yet. So I think he's full of agendas in HQ. But I've got an open R&D, and I'm building up tokens on medium. So I run and access 1 more card and then a second card additional. I'm down to 2 credits. I believe I see a Jackson Howard, and I'm unable to trash it with the 2 credits. One of the reasons why I had some misgivings about running for those 3 clicks. I saw Ice off of the top of R&D, but for whatever reason, I don't believe that the court player, David, is able to put Ice down in front of R&D this turn, which is really pretty unfortunate. Here he's got a power shutdown. Here we had, unfortunately, a bit of a misinterpretation of the rules. I believe that he had intended to play power shutdown as his final click, yes. And he was going to do it for 3 cards off of R&D to try to get rid of medium. Power shutdown is at the runner's volition. It has to be a card of value or lower. And I told him I would just as soon discard Data Sucker rather than medium, and that he couldn't elect to choose what got discarded. I think fundamentally he misunderstood the text on power shutdown, and unfortunately he probably should have and would have cleared counters instead of playing power shutdown this turn. So kind of unfortunate, but as a lot of the people I play Netrunner with say, you play Netrunner to get better, and when you make a mistake it's a learning experience, and it doesn't necessarily detract from the fun of the game. So I tell him that I will let him only discard 1 card off of R&D if he wants to just hit the Data Sucker. And I think that's how we agree to proceed with this part of the game. Yeah, so he discards 1 card off of R&D, and I trash Data Sucker. Now, very unfortunately, and as I discovered later, the single card that he did discard off the top of R&D was the Jackson Howard that I saw earlier but couldn't afford to trash. So he's flooded with agendas in HQ, and I believe in archives at this point. And he just trashed his Jackson Howard. Really, really bad luck, bad draws, bad trashing for this game for Weyland. I think it speaks to the power of noise. Noise isn't necessarily about trashing agendas off the top of R&D. It's also about trashing the operations you need to keep your econ going, the ice you need to keep the runner out, and other such things. So I'm now up to 6 virus tokens. Since he drew and trashed 3 cards, I'm seeing all new cards now, or thereabouts. I think I see one old card from before. I think this is one of the reasons why his turn would have been played differently. Drawing the cards that I had already seen really is a bad idea unless you intend to either clear counters or get rid of medium. So I run again, I'm seeing 7. I see 2 more cards since I stole 1 agenda. I see Posted Bounty and a accelerated beta test. Or, the HB play 3 cards card. I forget the name. Power shutdown combo. I run on a 3rd time and I pull a government contracts. Now I've pulled 5 agenda points in 1 turn. So I'm thinking I might get punitive counterstruck next turn. But I decide, I'm playing runner. I'm going to take the risk. So I run again, and I'm up to 9 counters on medium now. It's really, really a lot of counters on medium. And I've pulled 6 agenda points. So Corp is in a really bad spot. And I believe he's not running punitive counterstrike. He's running Sea Source Scorch in this deck as a kill combo. So he's not able to kill me with the agenda points I stole. I believe this turn he draws and installs ice over R&D, and that's really the difficult place that medium puts you in. You can't clear counters unless they've got a lot of accesses coming in. If he had cleared counters, I couldn't have gotten above 4 accesses deep. And I've already seen 9 deep. It may have been a better idea to clear counters first, and then install ice. But he's installed 2 ice, so I'm going to be pretty unhappy about face-checking 2 ice with no breakers. Here I'm checking his face-up archives. I'm trying to guess what his influence is. I'm still pretty nervous about a Sea Source Scorch combo at this point. I know I'm in range of him being able to just outpace me in terms of econ. Unfortunately, due to the glare of the camera, it's really not clear how much money he has at any point. And I apologize for that. I will endeavor to get a polarizing filter for my camera. So he hits his subliminal and uses it to gain some extra money. I spent my last turn gaining money. I got up to 3 credits so I could play Lucky Find. He spends this turn clearing counters, which is a good move. Now, he's put so many cards in archives, and he still doesn't have a Jackson on the table, that I'm thinking archives is the way to go, especially since he has ice on it. So I decide to, let's see, I guess I draw 3 cards this time. I'm looking at 2 Yogg, a Morning Star, and a Parasite. I know with a Parasite I can probably bully my way through anything, and that the Yogg and the Morning Star would not be a cheap way, but an effective way of getting into archives. I'm super close to winning, so I think if I can pull a single card, I'm probably doing okay. I also have a Nerve Agent. I'm feeling really good about Nerve Agent. Unfortunately, it's 9 credits initially to get through Ice Wall with Morningstar. 8 for install, 1 to break. Morningstar does not pay off against Ice Wall. So I would prefer to not go broke on that unless I have to. So I draw looking for Econ. I discard the second Queen's Gambit. It's just not working for me. I'm keeping him out of his remotes. And I also, with as many operations as I've seen, I don't think it's terribly likely I'm even going to see a non-agenda in a remote. Excuse me. So Corp is green leveling and gaining credits. I'm thinking about using my click counters again, but I don't, because, as I mentioned, I'm just not in the habit of using click counters. Corp is really drawing through this deck. I'm not really sure what he's looking for at this point. He's pretty low on the cards remaining, and I think he's holding on to most of his agendas. He ices up HQ. I had thought about Morningstar and Nerve Agent with as many credits as I had, spending a turn on that, but with the second piece of ice, it's just not the weakest point. The weakest point is the single ice on Archives, and it's a data pike. He pays to res it. Reina pays off again, slowing down the Corp econ. I have a Yogg in hand. I don't love installing Yogg from credits available, but I think it'll give me the win, and I can't get through Data Pike to get a retrieval run, even if it was available. So I pay for Yogg, and I run on Archives. And I do see an agenda. It's another government contracts, so I get up to, I guess, 9 points. So there's the game. Really unfortunate play for the court. My Anarch deck isn't at its best, but often Anarch can kind of survive with no breakers at all, even if it's not noise. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see if I can get up a few more videos this week. So long.